Hey, what's good,
Podcast.
everybody? My shit. Hey, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Mark J here, and this is another episode of nOne-shOt with me, Mark J. Today, I have the wonderful, and beautiful, and excellent cast of Body and Soul. Uh, Body and Soul was a project that Q put together. And the way it was described to me is we are gods from the motherland of Africa coming through the Middle Passage to the Americas, and how our interaction with the Black people, the formerly enslaved through the ages. Um, Really beautiful concept, and I think we nailed it beautifully as well. But let's introduce our cast. We're going to start with the mastermind behind it all, Q.
Hi, I'm Q. I go by Midnight Ink on the internet. That's midnight underscore INQ. Q is my name. I'm sure you get it. Yeah, this was a little brain worm that went through many iterations and turned into this beautiful project that I got to run with all these fantastic people.
I love it. Candace.
Hello, everyone. I'm Candace the Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she, and I'm so excited to be back with my fam, Body and Soul. I know it's early, but it's going to be the highlight of my entire year. So, really
Oh,
thrilled to be back with y'all.
thank you. Next is Liz. On the list is
Hey,
Liz.
everybody. I'm Dauntless. You can call me Daunt or Liz. My pronouns are she, they. Um, I'm also super excited to be here because this is the first game of its kind that I've gotten to play. It's a blessing to be in an all black space, and I'm excited to keep cutting it up with these lovely folks.
Thank you. That's Stefan.
Hey, I'm Stefan. Pronouns he, him, and I am Umbra underscore Knight X on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Uh, and super, super still jazzed, just riding high over this project. What an amazing time, and excited to talk about it and other things.
Outstanding. Thank you. And last but not least, David.
Hi, I'm David, pronouns he, him, aka Full Rubber Ducky. I am one half of Chaotic Wholesome Presents, who were fortunate enough to host this project on our platform. You can find us at Chaotic Wholesome Presents on Twitch and YouTube, and CW underscore presents on Twitter.
And that's the cast. Oh, then also myself. I showed up and
Yeah, you
played a
did.
role at some
Sure
point.
did.
I did.
You
Okay,
are
all
here.
right.
This is
Let's
true.
not underplay that, sir.
No,
Just say giving Oscar-winning performances.
thank
Yeah,
Just,
you.
Right,
just,
right. Let's
just
wake that up first
Thank
of
you. I
all.
right,
love
I
humbleness, but
was there.
also,
I was
right.
there. I did my
You were
part.
you were there.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, what's always gets me when I see actual plays and when I think about what I want to see in actual play is not the story, it's not the system, it's the cast. So Q was the one who put this cast together. Am I right?
Yes.
Q, what when you were thinking about the story, when you think about this actual play, what about us four kind of made you reach out to us? I'm curious.
Okay. So we're gonna start from the very beginning.
Let's go.
Okay. So I had already wanted to do something for Black History Month. And then I was in it was a session zero that I was in, and I had actually I was meeting Candace for the first time, and we immediately vibed. It was yeah, like, and there was a moment where we had a nigga moment,
we
and
did.
everyone else was very good and supporting, but they didn't understand, right? They didn't
Mhm.
quite get it, and
Which is fine.
so yeah, exactly.
Preferable
So
sometimes.
it's true. It's true. When we just go and, and we get it. And it was from that interaction, because we were talking at some point about the color purple. And the idea just sort of came into my head. And I was like, okay, D&D, sorry, TTRPGs and music. We love both of those things
Mhm.
together. And so obviously I had to have Candace. And then I had another session zero with Liz. And I had that same immediate connection. And I was like, well, got to have them there as well. And I had seen you, Mark, on some of the other channels. Enjoyed your vibe thoroughly, and I had actually been on a panel with Stefan talking about a lot of the things that we were going into, and so having him and especially his expertise in the field felt very important. And then just getting you all together
Mm.
worked out so beautifully. And like I knew that there were interactions with there was at least a connection between everyone.
Yeah.
So that really worked out. And then we had originally intended to have it on a different channel, but things did not work out. And so Chaotic Wholesome was gracious enough to allow us to host it with them. And so that's how we got here.
Love it. And shout out to Chaotic Wholesome. David representing Chaotic Wholesome right now for hosting this, putting it all together. David, way better tech than me. Audio, video, all that. So give mad respects to David.
We've had a lot of practice. It's just time in the thing. Kay and I host a talk show every Tuesday. We've managed most Tuesdays for like 2.5, 3 years now. We have hundreds of episodes. So yeah, no, it's time in the trenches.
Yeah.
David, you were kind of in the back seat for all this. You were like our little angel on the shoulder, just making sure everything's together. What was it like for you watching our
He was
production?
the whiz. He was the
You
whiz.
were the Wiz.
That's
Good
right.
job. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was it was very strange in that like I've run production for stuff before, multiple games with Kay. Like I said, I do production for the talk show. But there was this additional pressure because one, I was really working without a net because Kay was like, listen, here you go. And I was like, dope. I am an adult. I can take care of this. Um, and as with all things, like there are tech issues and things that need to be like massaged on the fly. And so there were big chunks that I was missing because I was locked in, tried to make sure the tech was working. But conversely, there were tech things that persisted because I was so locked in with the performances and so touched with a lot of the scenes that I'd be like, oh wait, I'm not just an audience member. I need to like push buttons here.
Yeah.
Um, and so there was a lot of back and forth with that. And as I've told y'all off stream, um, this and you all have inspired me in a way that I have not been inspired in many
Mm.
years. I'd argue since before the pandemic. And that
Yeah.
has turned into a lot of good things, and in a very real way, one of the few bright spots in my life in the past like 3 months.
Love to hear it. Oof. That's we just love to hear it. Um, I think if there's anything else we can do as TTRPG performers is like trying to inspire people, enjoy our own time, but try to inspire people, especially with this beautiful all black cast. This is my second, my second all black cast that I've been in. And the first one I was in, it was just a healing experience. And the same thing for this one too. Like when I was done with an episode, I was like, oh man, I need a tea and a blanket. Um, Let me ask Liz a question too. When Q reached out to you and pitched the story, pitched this game, what did it feel like for you? What kind of things was he at?
Well, the invitation, first of all, I was honored. I
Mm,
was so, so, so honored because I am very used to being the token pick. I
mm,
am very, very often oh, so and so dropped out. We should look
Mm.
good by putting a black person or somebody who at least appears to be a black woman. Let's put them in this spot. And there's no real, I guess, conviction behind asking me to join, which always breaks my heart because I give that conviction to other people. Like I always want to show up and show out with my best just for the love of the art. So when Q reached out to me, I was so like touched and moved. It had come on the heels of a very rough time in the community as well. I had been caught up in, so let's just call it a spade, some really awful racist behavior as Candace and I had both were going through it at the same time. So to be going through a storm like that takes so much from you, and then to be given something that says, not only do I want you here with intention and purpose, but look at where we're going. Look at this
Mm.
table, the story that I'm trying to tell. I mean, I was over the moon. And I think that's why I would get so emotional while we were filming, and like even quiet too, because it's rare you find a space like this. Let alone get invited to a space like this. So I'm just really, really grateful. Yeah, I would say that the
Mm.
immediate emotion is being grateful that not only did the space exist, but the door was being held open for me.
I dig it. So grateful, honored. It sounds like respected too, right? Like someone wanted you in the room. Like, I respect you. Please come in this door and play this game with me. Not like,
Exactly.
hey, Liz, are you available? We got some cold pizza in the room.
And when you eat cold pizza for so long,
Mhm.
and that's sort of what's been put forward for you is
Mm.
free labor and everything like that. It's so like it shifts your earth off its axis to
Mm.
have someone look at you and say, I see what your time and energy is worth, and I'm not asking for anything less than that.
Yeah.
That, yeah, for sure, respect as well.
Mm. I'll,
Mhm.
I'll rock with it. By the way, y'all can chime in and say whatever y'all want.
I,
So,
I,
let me just say, address the audience real quick. So, right before recording this, we were going off. So now everybody want to be quiet and shit. Now everybody want to be all respectful.
Well, because we're in
Whatever.
podcast mode, my boy.
Yeah,
nOne-shOt
Behaving.
podcast a little bit different.
Yeah.
We got to do it differently because
Let me-
I can't
I mean,
be
okay.
just some generic ass podcast. So let's just say
Okay, you
what
know
we
what?
want to say.
You right. My bad. You call me lacking. I'm so sorry.
yeah, I just want to say too, when Q contacted me, shot me something on Discord and was like, hey, I'm putting together this game, and here's like a little thing. It's for Black History Month, and then here's the cast that we have so far. And it's, I'm looking at the thing right now, and it's like Candace the Magnificent, Mark, and Dauntless. And I was like, did he send this to the wrong Negro? Because
Right.
because wait a minute, what
Clearly
are you
not.
talking about? And then
Clearly
I
not a Nazi.
I look up, and I'm like, no, that's my name up there. He sent that to me, because I was like, wait a minute, hold on, because I was just blown away. I was like, and then I was like, I'm kind of sitting there typing, and I'm like, well, let me see what my schedule looks like. But yeah, I'd be interested. But in my brain, I'm thinking, you know what? Unless my calendar says something like date with Megan the Stallion, I'm gonna be fucking there, right? Like,
And who could blame
Yeah,
you?
it's
And
it's
who could
only
blame you?
Megan.
Only
right? But
Only
You
Megan.
would have understood.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You would have
In
given me a
fact, if
pass
you had
for real.
shown up anyway, I think all of us would have done you a service and been like, go. What
get
is
out
wrong
of
with
here,
you?
right?
No,
Right?
Yeah.
I would have
Like,
I would have
what
thought
are you
less
doing
of you,
here?
truly.
What are you doing here?
You got
Right?
the wrong priorities.
But I was like, there's no way I can pass this up, because looking at, and then Q sent me kind of a little bit about what the story was about. And I'm like, how can I not do this? And as Q mentioned before, we had previously been on a panel, and you were there as well, Mark. We were talking about, it was an all black panel talking about the world of darkness.
Yeah.
And we commented, a lot of us commented about how rare it is to put something together in the TTRPG space with all black faces. And so for something like this, with the subject matter, the cast, and everything, I was like, there's no way I can pass this up. There's, I've got to be there. And it paid off in ways I can't even begin to describe. It was emotional. It was cathartic. It was funny. It was everything. And super, super powerful. And like I said, when we were wrapping up, if that's the last time I'm at a table with these faces right here, I'm gonna hurt somebody.
Choose violence.
But we've already discussed that's not going to happen. So don't worry. Don't worry.
Everybody's safe because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
That thing we were talking about before we started recording, like I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna try and make it happen.
There. You say when and where.
I think it would be honestly shameful if we let this table just like fly away into the wind. And I think that's something also for like just any black table, any table that celebrates people of color in general. Like I think there's this almost like a lack of longevity. It's a do it once kind of thing. Look, remember in February 2 years ago when we got all of these Negroes at a table and then it never happened again? But we still have the dusty metal up on the wall that says that we're a safe space and we're good at this. Like when you have something like this, I think we all owe it to ourselves even just to keep it going,
Look, we're in a time right now where you've got people out there, they've got this whole thing going on right now with the Disney board, and you've got this investor asking these questions like, well, why do we need an all black film? Why do we need an all female led film and all of these things, right? And these are actual, like, serious conversations that are people, why do we need that? And of course, everybody here knows, but you have to say it aloud sometimes. Nobody's saying, well, why do we need an all white fucking, table, right? Like, why do we need that? Those are just
happening, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That just is. And it's so much the quote unquote norm that they're only going to question when it's not that.
Yep.
And so the importance of having something like this, and again, I think Liz nailed it, right? It not being this transient thing, because then it just becomes an anomaly, right? It becomes something that can kind of be pushed once again, as so often, into the margins because it's just a one-off. Black there was that one time.
And that's it.
Yeah, they did it at one time for Black History Month, and that's that, right? Like, and so it doesn't normalize it, and it needs to be normalized.
I recall an interview with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and it started me on my journey of decentering, whether it be decentering whiteness, decentering men, etc. And they asked her, they said, how many women should be on the Supreme Court? Like, what would you think would be a good amount? And she was like, all of them. And the interviewer was like, what?
That's the pearls.
And she looks at him and goes, but there have been all men. Like, what's the problem? And it really struck a chord with me that all spaces can be all black or all women or all trans or all blank and still be normal. Yes. Like, it's not a special exception. Like, especially with my experience where this is my first like all black production, and where I was fortunate enough that Candace brought it to us, to Kay and I, and I and Kay was like, "Hey, Candace is bringing." And I was like, "I want to do it," and Kay's like, "Yes, I figured you might be interested." And for I've been in this space for years now.
Mm,
Like I said, Kay and I have done the talk show for a couple of years now. We've run multiple games. Like Kay and I have gotten like nominations for stuff. Um, and and we've raised like $15,000 for charity. Like we've been doing stuff in the space, and it took years for me to even know enough black people to do an all black table, let alone be part of an all black production.
mm,
And I think that's wild because there are all
it
these
is.
people that I follow on Twitter and I watch their performances that are like in the space. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I am too cool. Or like those people are too cool for me. And we've had black people in our product, like Candace, is a big part of Chaotic Wholesome's success. We've had Herb and we've had DM Jazzy Hands, and we've had like other people of color on the channel, and it's still like, why is why is this so why is this such a flash in the pan thing? Like this could be a more normalized, more decentered whiteness
Mm,
thing
Hmm.
that we could and should be doing, especially when it's so much fucking fun.
I
yeah,
think
right.
that's a big thing for me. To the listeners at home, the issue that Liz was just talking about was covered on my episode um, of nOne-shOt with Mark J
Oh
in
yeah.
detail, if you're curious
Go
about
back
what
and watch.
happened. Um, and coming off of that, this was a huge moment for me. Being able to join this table and being able to just show up. I had only had one black table, one all black table before that as
Mm,
well. It was for Black History Month the previous year.
mm,
It was awesome and it felt amazing, but like it just was it was it was impossible to just like come it felt like it was impossible to come back around to it, to continue it.
mm.
Like there
Yeah.
just wasn't any drive. Um and I'm since my first regular gig in the TTRPG industry, which was back in 2021. Yeah, end of 2021. I had I was at an all white, all male table was my very first show. It was a
Mhm.
show of
Mm.
Deadlands. The people were very nice. The GM and I had already done a production together for Pinnacle. That was like an event to they're doing a Flash Gordon re-release, and they asked me to come and be in their show. Um, and then this person was doing a game of Deadlands, right, a Weird West game, and I was very bright eyed. I didn't really think about the realities that I might be about to walk into or face at all.
Mm,
Which I should have. I think like looking back, I'm just like, oh, sweet summer child Candace. But I just kind of walked in and was like, cool, I like cowboys. It didn't occur to me to think about what other kind of white men like cowboys.
mm,
I just went, I like them, right? So I made this trans cowboy who grew up as Jamie and is now Jem. And I'm there with all the other guys, and that like one of them was from my past and knew who I was, like knew who I really was, but didn't say anything. And then the other two guys were brand new to my character. And I had an entire 12 episode series with them. And I was treated well. Like the GM was wonderful. He was very sensitive about my his name's Cheyenne Wright. He was very sensitive about my character and the slow reveal that my character was trans, and gave a lot of respect to their backstory.
mm.
I had a temporarily good experience with the person who was connected to my character that ended up turning into trash a year later because he was not who he pretended to be. And then the other two dudes like didn't talk to my character at all ever. It was like I was invisible. And it was really awkward. So I was grateful for that moment because it led me to working with that next guy, Todd. And then working with Todd led me to meeting Kay and Youngles, Jen Mac. which like changed my life irrevocably. So it was all like good things, but it felt so weird to have to like constantly advocate for things,
Yeah.
especially because it was historical fiction, right? So there were some elements of reality that were in there. They told me up front, they're like, we're not going to do like racism and stuff, and I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad that we won't be doing racism. And Cheyenne really made an effort to make sure that there were Black people in the town for me to interact with, so it wasn't just like me by myself in this white city. But like very I felt like an encyclopedia
Mm.
for a lot of it, right? The GM was really good at covering his bases and listening to me when I had feedback about how things were going to change the story. So it was a really good experience. But I felt like with the other players, I had to do a lot of heavy lifting with that. And I remember like moving into this next kind of phase of my career and trying to kind of wrap my head around like people of color and seeing all of these beautiful tables of color, right, that are going off on other channels, and like being so excited, like, oh, they're gonna ask me like any minute now, they're gonna ask me, and like was never asked.
Mm.
And it was very upsetting, to the point where I put on a big charity stream for Pride, and like no people of color responded to my search except for Jen. And I was like, okay, so we're gonna not take this personally somehow. And we're gonna just
Somehow.
we're just gonna
That's
keep looking.
Yeah.
So I
that
threw
somehow is
away
real
like
important.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
But
I
somehow
threw
is
away
like load bearing in that
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will not go into how unsuccessful I was. I I went out and I found people of color to play with, because I was just like, I'm not gonna be the only Black person or the only person of
Mm.
color at my own fucking table. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna be the token at my own table. Like, no,
Mm.
I refuse. So I went out and I found people and I made connections, and those are like lasting connections. I got to see Calamity and Jade Valkyrie at PAX U. We got to hold court and have a really wonderful chat with like all these wonderful Black people at the D&D party the night before the con started. Like, it really did pay off. And as every month, every week, every year goes by, I add more Black people to that circle, and it makes me feel so good. Like, Liz and I stared at each other on the internet. Like, I say this, we stared at each other on Twitter. We like followed each other and like did not talk, and just were like,
Mm.
for like a year and a half, until we were both cast
I'm gonna
in
be
a
very
show.
honest. I was so intimidated by you, Candace.
I was so intimidated.
Well, I
You
don't
had
know
a whole ass
why.
show. I was like,
Oh yeah, I forgot I
I
did
don't know
that.
what I'm doing. This person's got a whole thing going and a whole fan thing going. I'm like, I have 6 followers on Twitter
Oh.
and 20 followers on YouTube. Look at me. Like,
You
That's
you were
wild.
doing the damn thing all day, every day. And the thing with me too, I was very new to being, I'm still kind of new to being a performer. I am everybody's forever GM. When you need somebody to do free labor for you and make your show look good because you need a Black person, but you didn't cast a Black person, I'm the person that you call. Right. And I was doing stuff because I again, I just love doing this. I didn't really care much that I wasn't really being paid or whatever. And so to watch someone like you flourish in the space, and all I'm hearing is good things about you, I was like, oh my God, cool. I can never speak to you ever because I think I would actually disintegrate like Peter Parker. So I'm just going to stay over here in my lane, and I'm going to watch you be like, man, I wish I could do that
Mm.
forever. And that worked out pretty well for me, all things
listen,
considering.
it's so funny to hear you say that though, because on the flip side, that's me, right? I'm over here
Mm.
like, oh, I'm light skinned enough and sound like this enough and like white stuff enough for white people to go, they're innocuous. I can invite them to my table.
Mm.
They're safe, right? I'm the safe choice. I'm the choice for people who are starter. It's a starter pack kind of
Ooh,
thing. Like,
damn.
I've only had white tables, but
Damn.
Damn.
I'm ready
Damn.
to mix it up. So what I'm going to do is, instead of
Ooh.
seasoning my chicken just with salt, I'm going to
Mm.
season it with black pepper, Like, I'm not like the ancho chili. I'm not the adobo. I'm not like the fucking, like roasted
Sazon.
garlic and herb. I'm the pepper, it's like the intro to spice.
Mm.
And then I get there and I'm so disappointing because I will call you out on your bullshit. So I'm really not the one. And too many people now in this industry have found this out the hard way. And I do attempt to talk about it first. I like to have conversations first, but unfortunately, most of the time, those people are not interested in having a conversation. They just want me to shut the fuck up and show up for their game. And like that's not me. So it's been very hard. So when we were both cast in Wishes, first of all, I was beyond excited. Like I was dumb excited. Adam came to me and was like, "So, Liz," I was like, "Yes." Um, um, like just no question. And I feel like when we finally got at a table together, like the most magic happened. Like the
Oh my
most
God,
magic
yeah.
happened. And hopefully that show will see the light of day once again because it is very special, and very beautiful. But like meeting Liz, I can absolutely say, like meeting all of you has changed my life. But like I met Liz first, arguably, and like it
Mhm.
rocked my world, man. Like it totally changed things for me. I felt so immediately comfortable at that table in a way that I otherwise wouldn't have. And I was able to like really like soar with my storyline.
Mm.
And then the door was also open because I was dealing with that racist situation, and it was eating at me. Like if you're a person of color and you're listening to this, if you're white, you're probably not going to get it. But if you're a person of color and you're listening to this, there comes a time in every person of color's life, for the most part, where you realize that shit's just different for you, right?
Mm.
And it comes in waves. When you're a little kid, something
Oh, it
happens
comes
to
in
you, it's not
waves.
great, right?
Yeah.
Then you get to
Mhm.
elementary school and you're like, okay, I'm not getting picked on in class because my teacher doesn't think I'm good enough or whatever. Or I'm always picked on if you're Asian. I'm always picked on in math class and I'm really struggling in this subject and I really wish they would stop fucking with me, right? Like whatever it is, like you get these waves of uh-oh, 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 right? So this was a whole new wave in TTRPGs for me. And I was getting these microaggressions that I was like, these are like thorns wrapped in a really beautiful silk fabric that are pricking
Mm.
me and causing me to bleed all the time, but they
Yeah.
look really pretty to everyone else. And I'm pretty sure I'm not overreacting, but maybe I am, right? And by the time I finally got into a game with Liz, I remember being like, "Hey, I'm taking up too much space at this table. I'm really sorry," and apologizing. And Liz being like, "Yeah, me too." And I was like, "Wait a minute." Like it didn't stink when
Well,
it was me, right?
Mhm.
When I was like, "Oh, I'm taking up too much space,"
mm.
I was like, "Whatever, you're just being loudmouth." But the second that another person of color, that another black femme was like, "Oh yeah, me too. I feel that," I was like,
Wait a minute.
"No,
Mm.
not taking up too much space at the table.
Hold the
What?
phone.
Who said
Yeah.
this to you?
Is it
Who
me or is
made
it
you feel this
systemic?
way?"
Like,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
listen, I was so upset. I was like, "Who made you feel this way?" And Liz was like, "I don't want to like make waves, but if you're comfortable telling me who's making you feel this way, I can maybe confirm her." And I was like, "Is it Vara?" And they were like,
Oh, so we're just saying
Ooh,
the name.
yeah.
We're
Okay.
saying names,
Okay.
"I
We're
said
please.
names on the
saying
last
names.
one."
And
So
Sure.
why
Hey,
should
I mean,
also
hey,
like
why
why
shouldn't
should
we?
we protect them?
No, you're right. I
You
just wanted
know?
listen. I just wanted to know what time it was.
that's what time it
Look,
is.
Thank
look,
you. Okay.
Yeah.
look,
So
let,
It's now o'clock.
look, let me just say something Candace just said. You know, everyone here, knows, but for people out there who don't know, I started playing tabletop role-playing games in 1977. And every time I play a role-playing game, this was my first all-black table
Mm.
for a game since I started playing. When I started playing, it was me and one friend who was black. I grabbed D&D from a bookstore and I came back and I said, "Hey, we're making characters." Um and so, but whenever I'm at a table, I have to be cognizant of what I say. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going to say shit that needs to be said, but I have to think about it, right? I have to think about, if I say this, what are the
what's the
ramifications of
fallout?
this?
Yep.
Where could this lead, right?
Yep.
This is the first time that I've been at a table where that hasn't been ever present in my mind.
1000%.
Yeah.
Same with the amount of space that you're taking up, right?
Yes.
Like I think after the first session, where I think Liz was like, "Well, I talked a lot," and I was like, "Yeah, I was talking a lot," and everybody was like, "No, that's not what we do here." I never thought that way again. It was like one moment in the very first episode and then never again. And it was so freeing to be able to just show up
Yes.
and be myself, right? Like Liz gave me that permission in our witches game. My character is very extra. She is a high-strung witch
I
who
love
is
her.
a secret warlock who didn't know she was getting into being a warlock. She's a princess from a faraway land in a world that does not allow magic, and she is naturally magical. So she has harmed people with her magic because she didn't know how to control it, and no one was able to teach her. So she's like a little Pomeranian of a creature. And I made her to have people interrupt her because she gets real like all the time. And like once Liz was like, everybody else was like, no, it's cool. You can take up as much space as you want. You're not doing too much. I was just like, I've heard this before, and it was laced with cyanide. So I'm not gonna drink this. But I appreciate you. I'm just gonna shut the fuck up. And then Liz was like, no, you're good. Your character helps my character be more of who she is. So like you're good. And like hearing that was like a balm to my soul. Like I didn't even know that I needed to hear it. And I honestly think that it made the game so much better because all of us felt equally comfortable. And I think a lot of white people take for granted how immediately comfortable they are everywhere all of the time. Like the only place that a white person is uncomfortable is in a room full of black people. And like that's fair, right? That's fair. But at the same time, that's one fucking place in this entire goddamn world. Like white people roll up into Tokyo and are like, "Excuse me, can someone please help me find the Uban Station? What do you call it in Japanese? Shinkansen?" Like, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Japanese people are like, "You're in Japan. Could you speak Japanese?" We all speak English, but
that
also
hurt me so bad. That hurt me so bad because it's so
like
accurate.
maybe you're in our fucking
so
country.
Beautifully done.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Not even Google Translate, not even like a speak to talk. No, excuse me. Like entitled to everything in other people's fucking countries, right? Let alone this one. So when you're up against somebody like that in a game, good luck, right? Good luck.
Yeah.
You have to own who you are at every single table. And like I think a lot of white people, especially when they invite us, because like I'm that person too, Liz. Oh, hey, we had Abaddon drop. Hey, we had Jade Valkyrie couldn't make it. Hey, Calamity can't make it. Like I can't tell you. I'd say that a good 40% of the tables that I get invited to, I am not the first choice. I am the last person asked.
Same.
The group chat already exists by the time I get there. I scroll up, some other black person's name was removed from the group because of scheduling, right? Like people forget that you can see all of that, right? People forget you can see that.
Yeah.
I remember being invited to a game of like Merc Borg, and I thought, oh my God, I'm perfect for that, right? I love goth shit. I love monsters. I love getting real grimy. Like this is the boy you want for Merc Borg, right? Like that's me. And I like rolled up in the chat like, fuck yeah, I'm ready. And I scrolled up and it was like everybody had already made their characters and had a session 0 and was bonded. And I'm new. And now I have to have a second session 0 for me. And that doesn't feel weird at all. Right. Like, so like
I had that last
to me,
year.
it's like you have to talk to people and tell them, like, hi, I had someone drop. Are you interested in being this? Right. Because if I'm not in a good headspace, I have the ability to say no. Otherwise, I just show up and find out and then feel like shit for 3 weeks.
Yep.
I had that last year where I was a lot of people's replacement. But when I showed up to that table, I was like, you know what, y'all gonna remember me. I'm not.
Yeah. Then you gotta kick
I'm
there
running
it
this
is.
thing because y'all gonna remember me. Y'all gonna think of Mark first next time.
Word.
And that's kind of paid off for me. But I want to swing back to this thing that we did. Man, I'm still in my feelings about it. I'm still really in my feelings about this show that we did.
Yeah.
The range of characters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, it was
So
beautiful.
as Q brought it to us, we had a list of gods from Africa, and think in that general region of Africa, which is a continent and beyond. And God, that was a horrible way for me to
Yeah,
That
real
start.
that little
stuck with that.
place, Africa,
Yeah,
a
Cut
I'm
that.
sure
tiny
nobody's
tiny
really
little
heard of
island.
it. The tiny little, yeah.
All the guys from
So,
Africa, various times and locations. And we could pick one or a couple or none. But that was such a weird thing for me because I was like, I played a lot of characters, but I've never played a god before. Like, what am I gonna do? Who am I gonna be? Who am I gonna represent? And how? Um,
mhm.
And so you're
so
just
yeah.
like, I'm just going to show up as myself.
Right.
Don't tell people my secrets, David. Come on now. Don't tell people my
Okay.
RPG
Hey,
roles.
let's be very clear. It's not a secret. If anybody watched the last, if they watched the series, it's not a
It's true.
secret.
It's true.
We needed to give them a buffer week of you not being here just so that they weren't fully shook.
Too much
You
Right.
know what I'm
content.
saying?
So that they
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
destroyed.
Right.
We
Listen,
still talked about you though, like when you were gone. We
yeah.
like
Mhm.
built lore just like who's Mark J? What do we think they're bringing to the
Oh,
table?
damn.
And like
Yes.
built like a little bit of lore in that first episode, and then you showed up and were like even bigger than the lore. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had to miss the first episode. My sister called an audible that weekend and said we need to go to the graveyard, the National Cemetery graveyard, and see all the black people's graves, and that was dope. But I was looking at the stream while you were doing it, while the tour guide was like talking about the like dead slave owners and shit, and I was like, oh, this is like really good. And as the week passed, I was watching it kind of day by day. And I was like, this is so different from anything I've ever seen before. It's not like your typical AP where we're just doing roles and we're playing the game with the story. This is like a lot of monologues, a lot of history, a lot of like connection between the characters in ways that are like really genuine. It just really reminded me of just kind of black theater sometimes, where sometimes there'll be like a monologue and it's like, this is actually what happened in history, and this is how I feel about it. And all the black people clap at the end. It's dope. And that's what I was getting. I was like, okay, this is like black AP. This isn't like, oh, we just happen to be together and we're black. Like, no, this is like a black AP.
Mhm.
But what was it like for y'all, for us coming together to do this? And Q2, what was it like just to experience it? Because you were in the cut for the whole thing. And
I sure
sometimes I
was.
would look at you like, what's Q thinking? Q's just
Q's Q's thinking like, hey, you need to remember that you are the storyteller. You are running the game here. So like don't just let them go off forever because you
I feel
could.
your pain.
You like I know I did it a lot in episode 1 for sure. Where I'm just like, God, they're so good.
Right. Right.
Oh wait, no, I have to I have to be doing something. Um it was incredible
mm,
seeing everyone like take just a little nugget. Like I would set the scene just a little bit, and everybody would go, "Thank you," and then just run off with it
mm,
and just tell these incredible stories. Like having this really fun mix of like what's actually happening, adding a little bit of flavor so it's still a fantasy, but keeping it rooted apart from the 90s where like we actually changed, some things, the House of Ayath,
Mm-hmm.
which in my mind is a thing now. That's just real.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, seeing that interplay of, real shit with what we were doing within the bounds of history
mm.
was really incredible. I really had to try so hard to remember that I needed to have some input on this as well. Um, so thank you all for distracting me and making my job that much harder because it was truly a delight to watch.
Uh,
Um,
Same question for
something,
everybody. Oh, yeah, sorry, David, go ahead.
just something I'd like to add is as someone watching this and as someone who is deeply like we all are. Some of us who have a like some of us who teach and have degrees and stuff in it. I can't match that, Stefan. But um as like we're all students of history and we're all students of Black history, but there is something very different about this because it's told from the Black perspective.
Mm,
Like so much of our understanding of Black history is either talking to our family members about what happened, and we're not going to get into how a lot of our family members who lived through Black history don't talk about it with us because they want to protect us from that. But that's a whole different. But there was this just like sort of like David Attenborough, like documentary-esque, outside
mm,
looking in, white person narrator of what we understand about Black history. And it's different when you hear it from the perspective of beings and entities who were like this is something I am personally experiencing. This is something that my people are suffering through. And it saddens me. And there's this disinfection, this sanitation of feeling and commitment to it when we read about it in a history book, when we read the Wikipedia page for it, versus getting this experience of these different perspectives. And that was one of the many things that really sort of like broke through the veil of, and we also get desensitized to stuff. Like we can read about World War II and the 20 million Russians, and yet like they're just numbers. But then when you hear Artyom didn't have a rifle when he started and he had to run out there, and he's thinking about his mom and his kid and whatever, and he's 17 years old, then that changes it a lot. And so like again, like hearing this very intimate Black perspective through that lens makes it very different and much more intense and much heavier.
mm.
Hmm.
Real quick before you go, Stefan, as let me get uh Kenna, Stefan, and Liz. Let me get your characters too. If you could name your character, describe who they are. That way the audience can understand who we're talking about here.
Yeah. I'll go first. I was playing Anansi, the spider, um, the West African god, trickster god, probably one of the more well-known African gods. At least the name is known, and a storyteller, a troublemaker, uh, very, very analogous with trickster gods all over the world, getting into mischief with the other gods, taking things, sometimes coming out on top and sometimes not. uh, yeah, so that's who I was, and it was a ton of fun.
Uh, let's go with you.
Yeah, sure. I was playing Hathor, who in the Egyptian mythos, she's got a lot going on.
Mm,
She's a god that, while her role was definitely recorded in different ways, she fell into a lot of overlap with Isis and quite a number of other like femme gods. So I decided to take her story, which her domains are recorded as beauty, music, and dance and fertility. It's like that sort of area. So I decided to take that as a story of transitioning, coming into your own purpose, defining your purpose, and asking for respect in the new things that you want to do.
mm,
So I transitioned Hathor over the course of our story from not really knowing where she fits in as a goddess of beauty and fertility and music have being a hobby for her into someone who steps into full harmony, music, dance, love, expression, all falling under the same umbrella.
Candace.
I was Ayath. Ayath is actually a combination of Thoth, who is an Egyptian god, and Aye, who is in a Yoruban Orisha. And I combined them together for a few reasons. So Thoth is considered to be a masculine god, and Aya is considered to be a more feminine Orisha. And I wanted to represent the queerness and the transness that Black Americans have had to struggle with within the confines of this like kind of colonialized society that we live in. And then Thoth is the god of writing and wisdom and magic, and Aya is the goddess of wealth and plenty. So I kind of combined those
Hmm.
two into being this person who kind of encompasses all of those things, especially lifestyle, because I feel like Black Americans, one of the things that we have that everybody wants is not necessarily our lives, but our lifestyles. And the things that we create and the pieces of our culture that they enjoy, they like to kind of cherry pick. So they were supposed to be kind of an amalgamation of those things that ultimately symbolizes the kind of erosion of our gods and goddesses and pieces of spirituality that came over from Africa that were kind of, either meshed together or watered down or reworked and reconfigured into what we have for Black American culture. Obviously, we're very kind of far removed from our African ancestors forcefully. So it was kind of a love letter to that relationship, that tether that we still try to have, like Wakanda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yes.
You know what? Actually, hold on.
I knew it.
Let's go. Oh, come on now.
I knew
You should
it.
you should have been had that on. Let's go.
I
Yeah.
knew it. Yes.
Yes. There it
That's what we
is.
need.
Right, you can't show up to the function not in uniform.
The
That's
Panther.
it.
Let's go.
Here we go.
There it
Yes.
is. There it
There it
is.
is.
That's
I keep
that's
them on.
Kiwi. That's Kiwi
I keep
waiting
them
for.
on deck for sure.
I think two like really big things. One, I think it was interesting to do this and interesting to see what people chose. There's a tendency that people love, particularly in the modern era with the internet, people love canon. And I think what a lot of people slip into when you're talking about mythology and gods is this ideal of canon. But when you look at tales from all over the world, there really isn't a canon. Um, um, just because we have certain stories that were recorded about, whatever group of deities you want to talk about or spirits or whatever, we don't know all of the stories. We don't know how they were told in places where the stories have been lost,
Mm.
or where there were variations on those stories, and we can see that still reflected in a lot of places today, where maybe the way the stories of one particular spirit or deity is told a little bit differently based on a region or several other factors. And so I think it was really awesome to see kind of these variations that everybody did.
Yeah.
And the other thing that really struck me about what was going on here, of course, we did this for Black History Month. And as a history professor, one of the things that I get a lot is I get a lot of students who are, they're taking a history course because they're required to take a history course. And they're like, well, I don't like history. And almost without fail, um, the overwhelming majority of those um, students are white. And when they say I don't like history, what they're saying is I'm not interested in history. And what I can understand on like a particular level, like saying you don't have a particular like interest in something. But for Black people, uh, not liking history, that's a luxury, right? A luxury we can't afford because we live our lives, again, when we look at so many things around the world, right? So much of our history has been edited, omitted, deleted, passed over, and ignored, and on and on and on. And we have to find out for ourselves, right? When we look at the history books and we see the Abraham Lincolns and the George Washingtons and all of these other people who are white, and we only see their stories being told, and we're like, well, where the fuck were we? And so we have to find that out for ourselves, right? So we don't have that same luxury of not knowing at least some history, right? To the degree that other people can just be like, well, I don't know anything about that, right? We have to. And also then there's this kind of requirement for like sharing that, right? Which this was like a very powerful way to share some of that history that I can guarantee you there are going to be people that are going to watch this stream and they're going to be like, they just mentioned a what was that? I don't know what the fuck that what is that, right? I can guarantee you there's things in there we mentioned that people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, they have no idea what it was we just mentioned, right? They're going to go back and have to retrace those steps, right? Because they haven't had to go back and dig into that thing because their history wasn't, scrubbed out, and if you ask them, they're going to know maybe a few big names, right? But there's a challenge. And I think, one of the things, going back to like, one of my grandfathers, he wouldn't talk much about, but my other grandfather, he talked because he was a give a fuck Negro. He would be like, I mean, this is the man who he was serving as a logistics ground crew at Tuskegee, and at the time, Colonel Davis, who was in charge of the Tuskegee Airmen, he was like, no, that Negro didn't do enough. And he would just lay it out. He was like, oh yeah, he was the first this, he was the first that. But when it came to, them stumming, he didn't speak up enough. He didn't do all this. And he would lay those cards on the table like his whole life. And so he would tell those stories. And so we have to expose ourselves to these things. And then in turn, we have to be the ones to share it because otherwise it's going to keep being silenced. It's going to keep being suppressed. We have to tell our own stories, not just amongst ourselves, but to everyone else. Otherwise, they're not going to get out there. And I love that Liz has said and talked about this thing that we were talking about before the stream. That has to happen because, again, they try, and I absolutely love what we did. I absolutely love that we did it for Black History Month, and I love that we did it when we did it and how we did it. But we need to be doing that all year round.
I often think about that, like the specialness of an all black table like this, and I'm looking forward to the day when it's not special anymore, right? When it's just like,
Yes.
of course,
That's
it's
the
all black
hope.
guys. This is what we do. My character was Ogunabale, or it was Buna, who was based on one of the African gods of death, Ogunabale, and Ogunabale had a really like interesting history. Like he was like the payback god. He was like, if someone wronged you, you would call Ogunabale and they would like take out your boy on sight. But I was like, I don't want to be about vengeance necessarily, because I think just vengeance begets more vengeance and there's no end to it. Especially for black folk, like we don't want to see us keep dying for pointless reasons. So I was like, let me change this character a little bit. Let me like put this idea of death on my shoulders as like a thing that is necessary for life, but also I have to do. So that's what Stefan, to go back to what you said a second ago, was like people can recreate these stories all the time. But I thought was really cool about this cast is the people create stories, but what is the stories that the people who the gods who live through it? What is their perspective? And that's why my character always had a bunch of like little hangers on, little death worshippers, little cult, because those are the people who are like always there's always people talking about death and they think they understand death and they think they know death and they think they are like about death, but like that doesn't I was kind of like these people are just hanging out around me. I don't know. But yeah, it was really the way I portrayed it was really fun for me. And it was one of the few roles where I actually like put a lot of time and thought and
All,
effort into it because I was like, this is really important. I want to
all,
make sure that I
Actually,
bring something cool with it.
hold on, Stephen. Before
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
gonna let you finish.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I actually have a question for the group because maybe it's just me. Do y'all have members of y'all's family that are like real real, like they would definitely be a part of the Buna death cult. Like any sort of like any death in the family, anything like that, they are locked in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
My
I
family
mean,
is
she's
like
dead
that.
now, so I am
Yes.
free. But yes.
But yeah, no, it's just one
Why
of
did you
those.
give me this flashback? It's like reliving Vietnam.
Yeah.
Because like I realized that like a lot of my family, well, several people in my family, and there's one that is coming to mind specifically, are very much so like
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to be tied to, you know, the death and loss of loved ones and those ties to the past that is healthy. And then there are the
Yeah.
ones that are just stuck there.
Yes.
Every phone
Yes.
call, Uncle Cecil did. Aunt Cheryl,
Oh, man.
she did.
Right.
Uncle
Yeah.
Stevie, I'm sorry, girl, he did.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mm.
Nana, I understand. He was 80 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he is
Or
dead.
or or it's,
He was
or it's
Gotta make
like
97.
potato
Time
salad.
catches him.
I gotta bring a
Mhm.
casserole all the way to Texas. I don't know how I'm gonna get it there. I'm like,
yeah.
Yep.
I get that. It's like we were like Uncle Warner's dead. Uncle Warner's been dead for 20 goddamn years. That ain't gonna change anytime soon.
but do you keep him in your prayers?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I just
Maybe
want to
he should be
say
putting in a word for me. Like,
That.
right. I just want to say in
Right.
regards to Buna that there are moments when you're in a game and there's something that's done or said that you know in that moment you're going to remember that years down the road. And when this dude over here said, I don't take life, I give death.
That's it. Yeah.
That was a karate
That was one of those moments.
I need the audience to know, and I will pull up receipts for socials to be posted on socials, that after every episode, every episode you can see a message from me that says, when is Mark J getting the Oscar? Every goddamn episode, there is a timestamp. Everyone, we have a
It's true.
collection.
It happened.
On screen, we all
guarantee.
we literally all gasped.
Yes.
Mark was just like, I'm just doing my thing, and all of us are like,
yeah.
You know how severe that
even
is?
David comes off his invisible.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
the nerve of this nigga. Like,
right.
You don't just do that.
Right.
It is Saturday morning at 11:30.
Yes.
Stop
yes.
it.
I told
What are
you,
you
this is
doing?
the only rule I have, not ever, but a lot of games I go into, I have an idea, I kind of show up. This one was like, let me like do some writing, let me like prepare, let me get this character together, because this is like a thing.
Listen, you brought the sauce. Listen, but
Yeah,
you get both. You get both hands.
yeah.
Okay. Everyone else is on like the East Coast, and I would get up. I'm on the West Coast, so noon is 9 for me, and I generally get up at like 5. Because like, you do your morning stuff, and then I would do my pre-production, and then I'd do my pre-production, and then we'd get to the green room. But when I tell you that I got out of bed at 5 a.m., but I didn't wake up until Mark did their thing.
Yeah.
Like I was like, slap me like a Celsius, okay?
So which moment fucked you up the hardest? I'll go first. It was the 90s. It was the 80s and 90s. We were at a ball. Hathor is fucking killing it. She's serving the children.
Turquoise and gold.
Turquoise and gold. Gorgeous. And then Mark J. And to be fair, I fucked my own self up. I did this. I was like, old queen, yeah, we're gonna do that.
You did.
We're gonna do that.
Oh, you did do that.
I did that to myself.
Y'all were in cahoots.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And then Mark J was like, hey, I see that you have set this up for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, so that is also my moment.
Yeah, I know. Because Candace, you were.
Yes.
I couldn't look at you
Yes.
because I was like, I'm going to lose it. If I keep looking at
Listen,
Candace.
I was done. I
Mm.
was done, and I couldn't
Yeah.
hold back. I kept trying to put it back in the box, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
you know, when you have those real big inflatable like guys or whatever
Yes.
that's by the side of the road,
Yeah.
and you try and like put it in the thing it came into, right, or an
Yeah.
air mattress, and you're like, I can
Yeah.
get it back in this. No, it
No.
was not going back in the
Not
box.
going back in a
Mm.
box.
Too
Oh
late.
my god! Oh, you got me good. You got me
I
good.
know, and I had to
I
stop
cried for an
myself from
hour after
going.
we got off camera. It was
Mm.
you got
Yeah, I had to stop myself from going, Candace, keep it together. You gotta keep it together because I knew
Sew it up.
that was just gonna make it worse for
Yes.
both of us.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, that was
Destroyed.
definitely because it was such a beautifully bittersweet moment.
Oh my god.
Buna was so it was not even gentle. It was so kind
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
loving, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
But you know
and
what? You have a lot of nerve coming up in here talking about just Buna. Like
Yeah.
you
Oh
as
yeah.
the old queen
Oh
was
my
just
God.
it was
It-
too
Mhm.
okay, are you here for me? I'm like, stop.
You
Stop
know
it
what?
right now.
What really gets me about that moment too is that we had heard from Mark through Buna that death was a gift, right? But I think that was the moment where it really, really felt like a gift to
Mm.
Buna
Mhm.
and to the person.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because every other era, it's a sad thing. And not that it shouldn't be, but we see that Buna is tired. It's almost always a tragic circumstance in which someone has lied when someone's life has been cut too short, and this was the first time we see a legacy unfurling and we see somebody walking towards the gift that is destined to them. Like that is a beautiful thing
Mm.
Yes.
to be able to
Mhm.
bridge our higher characters to the mortal people we're supposed to be serving in our canon. And I just that is what got me, is that
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
such a human moment for Buna, and Mark, you played it with such grace
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and Q. Like
Mm.
I was about ready to like come fly up, like I was about to come up there. You were gonna receive hands in the mail. Right. I was sitting here.
Oh
You
my
know when you get
goodness.
so emotional, you get mad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
When
sitting
you're
here
Yes.
mad.
the
I was
tears
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And the paramedic.
Yeah.
oh God,
Yeah.
don't
Oh
start.
gosh.
Like,
No, I had to.
come
I had to.
on.
That
Absolutely. Had to.
that was
Oh,
that moment. Buna was like the stern father who can't say the words "I love you,"
yes.
Mm-hmm.
but it was all
It was all of them.
said. It was said, but it
Mhm.
wasn't said aloud.
Yes.
And that was so powerful and so beautiful. And it was because it was all in the interaction. It wasn't in like the words were important, yes, but like there was so much subtext there
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
that it was like I don't even know what the fuck is happening right now.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I felt that the paramedic was important.
Yes.
Because one, Black women are the backbone.
Yes.
Do you wanna describe that a little bit more for us for people who haven't seen it or just curious?
I
Okay.
shan't, but Q can.
All right.
It's like, you want me to
So
cry? I can do
I
that for
remember
you.
I remember bits and pieces. Gonna be honest, a lot of times I was just blacking out. We're off the
Yeah.
That's
off the
the
head.
method.
Yeah.
But we were at a ball. And there was an old queen that was watching the younger children. Knew it was her time.
because it was all in the interaction. It wasn't in, like, the words were important, yes, but like there was so much subtext there
Mhm.
that it was like, I don't even know what the fuck is happening right now.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I felt that the paramedic was important,
Yes.
because one, Black women are the backbone.
Yes.
Do you wanna describe that a little bit more for us, for people who haven't seen it or just curious?
I
Okay.
shan't, but Q can.
All right.
It's like, you want me to
So
cry? I can do
I
that for
remember
you.
I remember bits and pieces. Gonna be honest, a lot of times I was just blacking out. We're off the
Yeah.
That's
off the
the
head.
method.
Yeah.
But we were at a ball. And there was an old queen that was watching the younger children, um, knew it was her time, and was speaking to Buna. They had a last dance, watched the performances, and then walked out without argument, and passed away. The paramedics were called, and there was a Black woman that was one of the paramedics, and asked for her name. Um, Also asked for proper identification, but made sure that her name, the chosen name, would be remembered.
Mm-hmm. I think it's
She was
important
treated with
too.
respect.
That in this moment, right, we're dealing with the AIDS crisis is still going on, right? And there's this, and I highly recommend people watch it because it's so powerful. But we're dealing with this context of this very interesting intersection between the Black community and the LBGT communities, and there's a lot of tension there, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all well aware of, again, because we have to be, right? But for those who don't know about that tension, I think this kind of really kind of touched on that, and that this moment happens amidst all of that, and that makes it all the more powerful
Mhm.
because of everything that's going on, and even still to this day that tension exists through parts of the Black community and the LBGT community, and the so that moment, um if you just take it on the surface, right, it's a powerful moment, but when you add all of that context into it,
Yeah.
it just takes it to
Yeah.
a whole different level.
So
Ooh.
I'm gonna show my ass a little bit here. And I I'm glad we're talking about the context of characters and the context of like important moments, because there was an important moment and I don't remember what happened, which it feels a little dirty, but I can tell you what happened in my head in that moment.
Hmm.
And the first is like I think Stefan was saying, of death is a gift, um, and that Buna doesn't feel bad, like there's no sorrow in death with Buna. And the second part of that clicked in my head during the moment that I wish I remembered is the idea that Black history is the history of Black tragedy, that there is no major historical Black event that we read about in history books that didn't involve bodies dropping.
Yep.
Um, and I said in I think episode 2 in the group chat offhand. It's like, this is inspiring a story. And ever since then, I've been working on that. And I've asked different people different questions in pursuit of that. And it's not done yet because life is lifing. But it is, while it involves everybody, it is told from Buna's perspective on major, like little moments in major historical things, because there's a different perspective um when you think about the Tulsa Race Massacre, when you think about Tuskegee, when you think about the bombing in Philly, when you think about Watts riots, LA riots, all of these different um mass casualty events for Black people. And that is that it is unfortunate that so for what, these are crimes committed against Black people, and it's unfortunate that these things have happened, but there is so much good from our community, and there is so much intimacy with Buna and these victims. And there is intimacy and compassion and patience and understanding, all without sorrow. Like, you can take someone who has fallen in the course of this and not weigh them down with, oh man, it really sucks that you died.
Yeah, that was the boon I was trying not to play, and that's why I added the part about being able to see the impact, like ripples. So I said that way too much. I was like, yeah, you died, but like, what if we could see past your life? What if we could see like what your death actually meant, and not just like, yeah, you died, go to hell.
That
Some
was
people, yeah.
some of the
And
coolest shit. The visuals on that was
Yeah.
sorry.
and Buna also not necessarily knowing what's next for that person.
Yeah.
And so there's this it's this waypoint, this let's walk together for a time. And like, that's something that we all need at some point. Like, all of us have had a thing where it was terrible, it was awful, where it's a lot of terrible, awful things. And then somebody's like, let's go to a movie. Let's go grab something to eat. Let's go play cards. Let's go do a thing that's not this. And you can be with that person. Um, One of my friends is still my friend, is because my mother passed. There was a funeral, and the only interaction, like she was invited, the only interaction I had with her at the funeral, because I was just full on like zoned out. I don't remember 90% of what happened. She walks by, she puts a bottle of bourbon on the table, and she keeps on stepping. And I can see her running interference with the side of the family that I fucking hate. And getting hit on by my uncle, where I'm like, bruh, I will go get your wife, and she and I together will whoop your ass. You leave this little white girl alone. But just, yeah, those things really like coalesced in a way with me that got me writing, not for work. Because I love what I do for Chaotic Wholesome Presents. Kay and I do great stuff. Kay is a huge, tremendous inspiration, but I also haven't like written for me in a very long time. And so that first return to that, inspired by all of you, and especially inspired by the things that Buna put that connected in my head, is this like huge special thing for me, and changes the way I look at really all of Black history.
Let me say real quick. We talk in the space. We talk a lot about safety, and we come up with these lists and tools and all these things for safety. But there's no list or tool that can make me feel as safe as I did with y'all. Like the we're trying to recreate those things with these tools, but the tools don't really make it happen. It's really the safety we have as a table, as our with our connection, and that's what
Yeah.
made me be able to do the things I could do with this character, because I was like, I feel safe here. I can go there. I can make myself cry if I need to. Like,
Yeah.
it's not I'm not hiding. So just our connection as um a cast was all the safety tool I needed.
I think I
Yeah.
think I think that's super powerful because so just the other day, I got together and so I ran last week my first session of Daggerheart with a group of people that I've played with before. And so before played things and we played previously on stream, this thing for Daggerheart we're just doing kind of like our own like private game. But when we had done the original stream that I first played with this group of people with, we did safety tools, and we've done some other little things here and there where we did safety tools. And we did again here, but when we did the session 0 this time, it was just kind of like this moment of like, yep, yeah, okay, we're all good. Let's go. Because the overall point for safety tools, right? What are safety tools? But they're about trust, right? They're about establishing boundaries, right? But if you build trust and you understand boundaries and that trust is built, right? The safety tools are still a good thing to have, right? But they're a mechanism, right? They're not the actual like root of the trust that's built, right? And so I agree absolutely with what Mark just said. And that's a powerful thing because that trust came very quickly. And I think that's a powerful thing because we're going through this kind of like shared experience of Black history, and we're touching on these very tragic moments. I think, like was said, there's not a moment you can go to in Black history where there's not somebody being lynched or drugged behind a truck or some other awful fucking thing. Um, and and then the question becomes, how do you how do you survive that? How do you deal with that? Looking back and saying that's my history, right? That's my um. And we also, I think, had these powerful moments, but we had these moments of joy and levity, and that's how we do it, right? And then of course the whole root of this thing, body and soul, this connection of music, and we use these elements of music and other things to build these connections, to build these things so that we can look back on this awful history without just completely losing our shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the
But I
coolest
think
things for me, was seeing Liz and Candace, your characters, my characters, but your characters that were like life, right? To me, you all were giving and supporting and like creating life. And sorry, go on, Candace.
no, not at all. I was gonna say I think that that's both of those sentiments are so lovely because I feel like that's kind of the overarching umbrella of the whole thing, right?
Mm,
Is being black, to be black in America specifically, but black all over the world is really to be resilient, right? It is
mm,
to come back over and over again, show up every day carrying this gigantic suitcase of other people's stereotypes and problems, right, into your
Yes.
life, and
Yeah.
having to work twice as hard and do the most all of the time
mm,
and show the
Right.
fuck up all of the time, whether someone notices you or not. Because if the one time that you don't show up and you're having a bad day, now you're lazy, right? Like it's
mm,
this
Right.
very delicate balance and this very kind of
Mm-hmm.
uh very kind of delicate dance that we have to do as people on the daily just to
yeah.
exist as normal human beings. So both of what, Stefan said and what you said, Marche, I feel like that's really, those two pieces fit so nicely together into what it means to be Black, like the full Black experience.
Yes.
And I think that's what made this so special to me is, you know, I've tried talking about my Black experience to people who, you know, look at me and they're like, oh, well, you know, you're pretty, you have pretty privilege, and you're smart, and you're educated, and, you know, you have all these things, and, you know, your life probably isn't that hard. And I'm like, for sure, my life is definitely not as hard as other people's, but you, an upper middle class white person, who is cute by white standards, which is a whole ass different kind of cute than Black ones. Right? Like, it takes next to nothing to be a cute white girl. Next to nothing. You just have to have like eyes and boobs, and sometimes not even both. Like,
you just have to breathe.
Well, like, you got skin, you're good.
Yeah.
You can't understand what it's like to like walk out of the house feeling absolutely gorgeous. Your Black friends have told you, damn girl, you're rocking it, right? Your mom has looked you in the face and said, I'm so proud of you. You're so beautiful, right? Have your dad tell you, you know what, you make me so proud. And then get to school or get to work and have someone be like, oh, you tried today, right? Or that's your hair done, or whatever other fucking messed up microaggression that they want to give you, right? So I think that, you know, I can't bring a character like Iath to a table with white people. Someone's gonna fuck with me. Whether they know they're gonna fuck with me or not is a whole other issue, right? They might not realize that they are about to do this to me. But it still happens, right? It's still something that I have to be conscious of, that I have to be cognizant of. Whereas in this game, I was able to just kind of bring my character's frustrations. At no point was anybody like, ooh, you know, Iath is the angry one, right? Just because Iath was rightfully pissed off about how the world was treating their people, right? Like, that kind of, ooh, spicy, didn't happen in our game, other than in a loving Black person roast kind of way, which I love.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Oh God. Buna absolutely dragging a Nazi was one of the highlights.
Oh, that was fantastic. Yeah, that was...
you did that? You did that on purpose?
Yeah. I was just trying to be like,
that was spectacular.
I can't be like death and be boring. Like, that'd be so miserable to be like, like Liz said, like, Mark's the Black goth character. But yeah, kinda. I guess I am now, but I don't want to be like,
people. And I think we should say openly, you know, Candace touched on a little bit, but I think we should be really open about like the coping mechanisms of being Black, right? In white spaces. And that's one of them, right? That good-natured kind of, you know, interplay that goes in between Black people just in general, right? That's one of the mechanisms that we use just to, again, cope with all of the constant microaggressions and all of these other little things. We give each other shit.
Absolutely. And that was something that I really enjoyed seeing. I feel like from the word go, like session 0, we were on it, like getting everyone in. Like everybody came up, they understood the assignment, and there was just an immediate kinship and connection, and so I was very pleased with that. There's so many good moments. I'm so proud of all of you.
Big shout out to Q for like being a fantastic GM, being a fantastic storyteller, making up this entire beautiful world while incorporating all of our history into it. But like, you set the record for the most interesting session 0. I think I can speak for everyone when I say I have never had someone ask me at a session 0, so we're gonna like maybe have the N-word. How do you feel about that? And which version are you okay with? You can say neither, you can say one of the other, or you can say both. And all of us are just like, I don't even know how to answer that question. No one has ever asked me this in my life.
Like, it was a potential, and like there were a couple in there, but really the story was just the story, so we didn't actually even come up. What I wanted to make sure that we were okay with it.
Well, and how many, you know, that goes right back to how many times are we doing these things in predominantly white spaces? And we talked multiple times off camera the relationship that white people have with that word. Because like I said, off camera at one point, like when that word is said in general public, I look at the white people, right? Because I want to see what they're doing, right? I know how to, depending on how it's said, I know how the black people are gonna react. I want to see what they're doing, right? And so I think that, like, what Candace just said about like not being asked that question once again highlights what shouldn't be an unusual thing, but it is because of the space that we're in. That question's not asked, because if you go into um, typical white spaces, right, that is like one of the top verboten words, it should be, sometimes it's not, but so yeah, I think that's like, again, highlights why we need more of this to get to that point that Mark said, that this isn't unusual.
I will say that I wasn't expecting Q copy and pasted the application for your black card into the session 0 question. And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for like who you bring to the picnic.
Can I tell you how much I was sweating? I was
oh my God.
sweating. The entire time I'm filling it out, I'm like, there are wrong answers.
Yes.
There are incorrect things.
I will say that I wasn't expecting Q copy and pasted the application for your black card into the session 0 question. And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for like who you bring to the picnic.
Can I tell you how much I was sweating? I was
oh my God.
sweating. The entire time I'm filling it out, I'm like, there are wrong answers.
Yes.
There are incorrect things to say.
Yes.
Sure, but like,
fear
felt the pressure.
Body.
Yes.
I was like, wow, I'm gonna get uninvited from the game, and I haven't even sat in on like it hasn't even happened
no
yet.
way. There was no way that was happening. There was no fucking way.
But I was ready for it. I was ready to get like a survey response back. Like, we're sorry.
Like,
your vibes.
Rancid.
We can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm so sorry. It's like, thank you so much for your time.
It's
thank you so much.
Wow.
It's like one of those big tests where you're waiting to you're waiting for your score, and you're like, I don't want to open this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to click that. I don't.
We'll keep you in mind for future projects.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, that hurts. That hurts.
Right, we'll keep you in mind. No thanks. Actually, you know what? Lose my number. Actually,
right. Yeah, it's like, we don't have to do this. Like, let's pretend this never happened.
It's like, no, good things.
One thing I want to weigh in about when it comes to safety tools, and Mark, you mentioned this earlier, and we're talking about like the session 0 is Kay and I, our focus with the company, with Chaotic Wholesome Presents, is inclusivity, is for everybody to be able to come together and be together and have a good time. It's literally the tagline of the talk show. And the first question that Kay and I had was, in talking with Q, was about safety tools. And Q went, okay, look, so these are all the things that we're doing. These are the conversations that I'm having. Also, David, stick around for the session 0. And I sit in the session 0, and the first, and like Candace said, Q is like, so how do you feel about us saying it? And I'm very fortunate that I have such a great relationship with Kay, working and friendship wise, that Kay often speaks for me in other places and is like, all right, we're gonna do this thing, and then we'll come back and be like, David, I signed us up for, and I'm like, great. And it was a rare but very fulfilling opportunity for me to then do the same thing to Kay and be like, Kay, you know how you always speak for me, and it's great. Well, guess what I did?
Because we're
Your
saying the
turn.
N-word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting, and like I said, there are a million ways that I am fortunate to have Kay in my life and to have this working relationship with Kay. But one of them is Kay did not blanch. Kay did not blush. Kay immediately went to, okay, here are the things that we need to set up on our channel. What do you need from me to make this to make this okay, to make this happen? And safety tools are important for us, not only because of the type of channel we are, but we've run a number of horror games. Thank you, Candace. Um, and we've also like run a number of sort of things that are easy to hate raid. Candace mentioned the Rainbow Roll earlier. Please go watch it. I think it should be on YouTube somewhere. Um, it was brilliant. But again, you have a bunch of like queer people doing a thing
I mean,
for
ponies.
ponies too.
You've got 3 masculine people and 1 you're not really sure of. They're wearing makeup, so probably a lady. And they're playing ponies, right? In like a fluffy cloud-looking background. It was very gay. Very easy to
Right.
hate raid.
Yeah. The ponies games was gay up to 11, and
Oh yeah.
um
So gay.
and I occasionally like poke Kay, and I'm like, no one's gonna let you get away without doing this again. Like you have to, like, if you got cancer tomorrow, you would be running this like from chemo.
That.
Um, but not only did Q do a great job of making sure that everybody was on the same page and leading with that. And when I tell you, I have watched games on stream where and it's always one person who's like, huh? What are you doing? Hey, I'm not sure I signed up for, and it's never the white guy.
No, because why
It's
would it
never
be?
the white guy.
Because why would it be?
And not only that, but like the trust that everyone built together. And because like Mark said, like the safety tools are about trust, and the trust that y'all built on top of and around and underneath all of the safety tools. I have been in a lot of green rooms with a lot of people running production on a lot of things. And when I tell you that I have not only never had a better time, but never been more relaxed and really said more out of pocket things in the green room
Like,
Listen.
with
hilarious.
us.
Listen,
Yes.
sir.
Right.
Cheers.
And I could only do that because it's a safe space. And it's especially like it's also different for me, like as production, because by all rights, Q could go, thanks for hosting us on the channel. Now sit there, shut up, and press the buttons. But it was never like that. And to be included with this group of extremely talented people. And one more thing to like circle back to something that Candace said much earlier. Like Candace and Liz were having I was intimidated to talk to you. I was intimidated. Black people who are uh, uh in the audience, black people who are watching and listening, you are accustomed to having to work at least twice as hard to get at most half as much. And so when you encounter people who are extremely talented and extremely hardworking, they have that same experience. So do not let that preclude you from reaching out and making that connection, because the second most important thing that we as black people need is community. I'd argue the first most important thing is literacy and learning. But That's a whole different conversation. But like connect and like because when Kay is like, hey, so there's this person named Candace, and I'm like, it's not Candace the Magnificent. And Kay's like, yeah, they're like things are happening. They're gonna jump ship from the thing that they're working on, and I'm like, grab them, go grab them right now, steal them, break the window, run in there and get the bag and get out.
Run,
I
run
was
them
very easy to
pockets.
catch, though.
Run
But
them pockets.
Very
but
easy to catch.
also I was like, oh my God, I can't be seen. I can't be in the same place as Candace and say words. Kay, you're gonna take care of this because there's a lot of intimidation there. And like
Mm.
there are people that and the same thing with Herb. We were lucky enough to have Urban Bohemian run a couple of different games with us. God Played Ponies that Candace mentioned. And like even now, like Herb will pop into a stream that Kay and I are doing and say hello, and I'm just like, because there's still this element of starstruck. Like I have
Yeah.
it's hard for me to make words talking to y'all because of the struck, but it's important that we connect and have this community because we
Mhm.
get together and we enjoy each other's company. And and even more important part of like black people in this space should get together and like have fun and do stuff together and work together is also for everyone watching and listening, people talk. And people talking is a good thing
Mm.
Yes.
because when when Kay and I are putting together a production, we go, all right, Candace, when are you free? And then based off of that, then we schedule the thing and then we start like reaching out and talking to people. But a lot of people that we've cast, especially like bigger names for our charity games, we've gone to Candace, we've gone to Herb, we've gone to other people that we know in the community, and they're like, hey, who do you like working with? Hey, have you heard of this person? What do you and all of the like negative stories that you hear about, especially if you've been on Twitter in the past like 2 weeks, um, like 1,000 more conversations are having behind closed doors, 1,000 more warnings are given, and like we've even like I've and I'm fortunate because I'm not a face forward performer like a lot of people are, so a lot of like racism and microaggressions and just all of the icky stuff that happens in this community doesn't necessarily happen to me because I only run my own shit. um but when I tell you that I have been party to a lot of conversations, and I've been fortunate enough that people have to trusted me to invite me into these conversations and go, hey, that person, Kay and I have a list of people we won't work with. And we
We're
also
gonna
have
get
a
to the
list,
hold on, because we're gonna get to that. That's a
right?
segment on the show. But yeah, sorry.
But like
um,
who trust is really important, and this
Important.
happens
Yeah.
when we get together. We should be a community about this.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Let me just say too, when you mentioned the hate raid, I just have to say that I was worried going into this, knowing what we were going to be doing, that the chat would get stupid. Uh, and it didn't.
no, there
Uh,
was one. There was
there was
one who
one that
was
got a little
the
bit,
Questionable.
vibes were
Yeah.
the
but
vibes
I
were weird.
but were weird, yeah. But overall, uh, there was a really good vibe there overall from the chat, and I think that was really really awesome. Really really awesome to see because I don't know if anybody else is like me when you go into things like this. There's always that little bug in the back of your head that's like, is somebody gonna say some really really dumb
Mm.
shit in here?
Oh, always.
I prepare every time.
Yeah,
That
you
very
know.
that very first series that I was in, that we did a Halloween episode, and of course, again, only person of color at the table. Everyone else is white. And someone in chat, I think my character said something like, "Oh, it looks spooky out here," And someone in chat went, yeah, it sure does. Funny coming from this person or whatever, right?
Oh my God.
It was very like offhand. And I saw it. And my partner Jason saw it. And I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm looking at everybody else. And everyone else is just like, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so y'all don't see that. All right, cool.
I
Cool.
get it. Okay.
Cool.
You don't know. So I wrote to
Yeah.
chat, I'm like, hi, that's racist. And they went, oh shit, and deleted it.
Mm.
But like a lot of white people really need that. That's racist moment.
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
like-
Absolutely.
Let me shout out Black people for claiming DEI as well in the last 2 weeks. I
Yeah.
don't know how or why, but we made that ours, and we just
Hey,
gotta
real
own
quick.
it.
Hey, real
Mhm.
quick. I'm being honest with you because I haven't looked it up. What does that mean?
Diversity, equity,
Diversity,
and
equity,
inclusion.
inclusion is the technical
So-
for white racist people. What it means didn't earn it. They always say that
right.
shit.
Didn't
Yeah.
Gotcha.
because they're
Gotcha.
like
Okay.
affirmative action. And I'm
Affirmative
like, you know,
action.
affirmative
Also-
action really just employed white women. You know that, right?
Also there's a prevailing thought amongst a lot of white people that that rights are a fucking pie, and that if you give someone more of the pie, there's less pie for you.
Yep.
And it's not a zero-sum game. It's not something where giving other people rights that you take for granted is going to mean you have less rights.
Yeah.
Can I say though, what kind of monster is told that rights, something that is that important and that intrinsic to survival in our society, that they've got 75% of the pie and someone else has 25% of the pie, and isn't like, why don't we both have 50% of the pie? What kind of person? Let somebody come and tell me, hey, Candace, there's a pie that you can share with all your homies in body and soul, and you can have as much pie as you want because it's your pie. Y'all think I'm going to be like, all right, y'all, here's 25% of the pie for you to scrap for?
Right.
No. I'm going to make sure everybody's got a fucking slice. How hard is that? Why
Same.
do
Right.
I need
Same.
more pie than other people?
Ain't
Like,
no
even
fun.
if there was a zero sum,
The
I mean,
homies can't have none.
Again.
Exactly.
Yes.
then you're sitting by yourself.
Oh Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With no
Are you-
friends
are
because they're
you-
looking
are-
at you eat pie.
Yeah, are you talking about other Black people in space who want to be the only Black person in the room, who want to be the only Black person in the room? You
So
gotta talk
I
about
wasn't
this
Be
talking
now.
about that,
honest.
but I'm
But we-
talking about it now.
Okay.
Candy. Also,
Right.
hold on, real quick. It's just a quick moment. Candace,
Yes,
you remember when we were first talking about getting people
I do.
and how we definitely dodged the bullet with one of those
Correct.
options?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have hit real different.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that
Whew.
this is the people, them's is
Oh
the
my
people that we're talking to right now, instead of one such other.
Correct. Well, I mean, you recall at PAX U, I had an iffy experience, which is why it led to us not having that conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to know that my spider senses were not incorrect in that encounter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Walked out and then very quickly walked back in with
Correct.
Mhm.
also he's just so small.
Correct.
So small.
Bite size. Yes.
Just
Not that
put
big a
him
deal.
in my pocket. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that was all. That was all I had to say
Yeah.
about that.
No. Listen, I love that kind of
Someone's
stuff.
out there making everybody else stressed out. I feel like we're allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Making Black
Absolutely.
people
It's-
stressed.
Mm.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
woo
well,
goodness.
It goes right back to what was touched on a little bit before. Is that's the other thing is that if one of us fucks up, then we didn't all
Correct.
fucked up.
It's everybody. We are not individuals. We are a monolith.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Yeah.
Clearly. But if
Mhm.
it's then like they're just a troubled soul.
They're
Yeah.
just
Bless
like
their
Yes.
that.
heart.
They had a
Yes.
hard life.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Their mom didn't love them.
Yeah.
They have
Right.
anxiety.
Right.
Aw.
Oh, they have a reading problem.
I have
Okay.
Yes.
They can't read good. That's why they're racist.
They were on
Yeah.
Ambien. You know, they were taking their
Oh,
prescribed
man, the so
medication.
anxious that
Mm.
like my favorite
Smoked a lot
one
of
is the one
weed.
about slurs. You're just so anxious and so overwhelmed that a full racial slur with a hard R comes
Right,
out of
with
your
a-
mouth.
Yeah.
aura,
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
the hardest
I love
R.
I love when they say well, that's not me. Well, then who the fuck was that then?
Right.
Because it sure looked like your ass.
Yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
I was on some different
Mm.
shit that day. Okay, well, what kind of
Oh,
shit are you
okay.
on today? Because I'm not
Right,
trying
I
to
wanna-
repeat these mistakes.
I want to know what the chemical makeup of like
Right.
what was in it. Cause
Yeah.
Yeah, show me the prescriptions. Show me
Yeah.
the prescriptions. I want to
That
see them.
Shit.
Yes.
Let me bring it back to this wonderful game we did. On our last episode, as we were kind of closing, I mentioned that I'll be happy to put this character away and put the story away because there's a lot to process. I'm sure what everyone else is feeling too about uh post game kind of feelings.
I was riding high off of this for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. I know we talked about it immediately, but my brain has been noodling, like from like when we ended to like, okay, what's the next one? So,
Correct.
and I literally just messaged my sister because I hadn't yet because I've been distracted. But yeah, no. So I didn't go to HBCU, but
Same.
my sister and my parents did.
Mm,
So I do have a wealth of knowledge. So, wizarding school, but make it HBCU is
yes.
absolutely something that I'm going to be looking into. So just,
Crossover with the Strix.
I mean, I'm
Crossover
down.
that
Look,
Strix
look.
you.
I'm just
down.
saying I'm there for that. But also what Liz brought up, Liz, if you do not
Yes,
send
Liz.
out in
you will hear from
ASAP
me, and that's a
some kind
threat.
of thing, I am
Right.
stealing every grape you own.
Yeah.
Okay,
Y'all
listen.
leave my
mugged.
grapes alone.
Hey,
Man.
listen, we want the grapes. We want the grapes, though. You know what I mean?
Do I
Mm.
explain this bit, or is this just us?
No, absolutely not. Just
All
like I'm not
right.
explaining this.
That's so fair. You will be hearing from me because I mean I know I've talked about it already, but I don't know, it just means a lot to me, this group, the energy that this group has. And when it comes to stuff with me, when I'm DMing, first of all, thank your GMs. Thank your DMs because it takes so much to be able to sit at a table. You are not the captain of the ship. We are all steering the ship, but it does take a special level of focus and drive and mental power that knocks me out after every session
Mm,
to keep a whole world in your head, but also be present with what your players are bringing to the table. And that's something you did fantastically
yes.
with us, and I will always be grateful for. But like for me, I want to make sure if I'm going to give a story, if I'm going to sit for hours and write, if I'm going to put all the resources together and everything, I want to do it for a table that's going to give me that back. And I feel
Mm,
like that is this table. The respect that you guys gave me, not just me, but each other, your own characters and Q. It was an intrinsic thing that went obviously very, like, it's beyond us just being black. I think we all jive because we're storytellers in a very specific cultural way. It's
Yeah.
not just, like I think all of us tap into the history and the rooted feeling of being able to bring a story through generations, through time, through space consistently, which is not
Mm-hmm.
something everybody can do. A lot of people, like, not to, throw strays or anything, but a lot of people enter the space because they want attention,
mm,
but
Well,
they don't actually have what it takes to sit and engage thoughtfully in a story and tell a story
mm.
because they're not giving themselves and respecting the other players at the
yeah.
table.
It's a lot.
I think that's why I really am so like both of these ideas that we've talked about. I love, but I think I'm really, really keen with this table in particular for Liss's idea because what we did with Body and Soul is beautiful. It was amazing, but obviously we all came at it with this shared knowledge of actual history, and I would really, really love to see how this group puts something together in a fictional world. And the approach is I'm super, super excited for that.
I'm gonna start cooking. Don't you worry.
Good.
If
Because if
you
I
need
don't
us,
hear from you,
yeah.
you'll be hearing from my lawyers. Thank you so
You
much.
will be hearing from me. Listen, y'all are cute. You will be hearing from me. Y'all talk a big game now. Then I'm gonna be up in your inbox like the Tomb Raider. All right.
Ready
Okay.
for it. Ready for
And
it.
Y'all are
listen,
gonna hear from me.
listen, I'm ready for the smoke. I don't know if you know this about me. I stand on
You're
business, so
gonna.
what's good?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up, and you're gonna be my friend and play games with me. That's how this
Okay,
is going.
I'm down. I'm cool. Aren't we
Yes.
both in Florida? Aren't we both? And Candace too. We all in Florida.
It's like the ring. You will see me in 7 days.
Okay, bet. Bet.
Mhm.
Dust
That's
off
what's
your
up.
CRT because Liz is about to climb out of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna crawl out of it with like a game manual and be like, "So you free or?"
Yeah.
Ways to go. So are we
What,
doing this or not?
what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's good.
Love it. Love it.
Candace, how
Done and
about for you?
done.
Any post game feelings? Kind
Oh,
of thoughts, feelings?
tons.
Yeah.
Tons of post game feelings. I usually have decompression time after a series that I'm in ends. Um, and depending on how strong the bonds are with myself and the people at the table, the harder I cry and the longer lasting that period of downtime is. And I think what kept me from having like a very serious, like deep dive on this one was knowing that we were going to get back together for this podcast episode. That saved me a lot of grief, I think. And knowing that we plan to do this again and knowing that everybody here makes good on what they say definitely helped a lot. I I don't know. It was a very transformative experience for me. Um, and the bond that it kind of gave me with all y'all. I was already kind of nursing this bond. Stefan, you're the only person that I didn't know. I mean, I knew of you. I've seen you all over the internet and have followed you and stuff, but I didn't like know you.
Right, right, right,
Um,
right.
so like I think it really strengthened the bonds that I had with everyone else. And then it like gave me this brand new one with you. And it was really, really lovely. And even with David, like that moment, you kind of touched on this earlier, David, but that moment that you were like, oh yeah, like, oh, I'm glad I'm here for the session 0 and now I'll leave you guys. And I was just like, why are you leaving? Like, you should totally stay. And I didn't want to like put you on blast, but then Q was just like, where are you going?
Yeah,
Why are you
exactly.
leaving? Is
Yeah.
there a reason? Do you
He
have
was,
something to do?
he was like, I can go. I was like, but why though?
I
Right,
don't get it.
right.
Like I loved being able to have that moment because David is very much an unsung hero. In many
Hmm.
ways. And like Kay does a wonderful job giving David his flowers and talking him up and representing him and saying wonderful things. I've been in 5 productions now with Chaotic Wholesome. And David has been right there giving support for every single one of them. Godplane was a major moment for the channel. They've actually run it 3 times now. I was in the second iteration. That was the one with Herb, and it was really really special. Like it was a really really beautiful show, and David ran all the behind the scenes stuff. So like I was very much baby in D&D because I did not I play D&D because other people like playing D&D, not because I'm like I am passionate about D&D and I know everything about it. That is not me. Other people do that for me, and then I show up and I do stuff for them. That is me in D&D. And David was right there. I'm like, hey, so yeah, what when it says that I can do this on my turn, I just do it like every single time, like typing in the chat like live on the air. And David's like, yes you can, that's
Yeah,
Sentinel.
sure,
So like
sure do, bud.
it was awesome, and it still is awesome up to and including this moment where we're all on this and on this show together, to be able to share that with David, because it was something that I was very much passively sharing with him as a friend before. But this I think has been able to kind of bring him more front and center so that people know like what he has to offer. Like he is more than hilarious jokes on Twitter. And even more than what Kay says he is, which is already arguably a lot, right? Um, like no doubt does Kay like fly that banner proudly. And I am proud to also fly that banner. And it was really wonderful getting to see like these groups of people that I am so passionate about like collide and come together as
Yeah.
one, right? I've got like Q from My Life from the Apocalypse people, and I've got Liz from They Who Shall Not Be Named, and I've got Mark J from Apochromatic, right? And then I've got David from Chaotic Wholesome. And then all of a sudden it was like the Avengers came through the portal and I was in the middle and I was eating my popcorn and I was like, yes, this is amazing. And then like everything worked out, which was like even
Yeah.
more ridiculous. Because
Yeah.
usually like you can bring people together and
Yeah.
it's like you talk for a little while and then there's like
Oh, this is
silence.
fine. Right.
Yeah.
This is fine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but
Mm.
like everybody was just about it. Like we walked
Mhm.
in and it was over. Like it was done. Like the bond session 0, the bond was just made.
Mm.
And that was so gratifying for me. I love making connections and meeting people. And I love even more so to help other people make those connections. So even talking to Q when, you know, we had some turmoil in the early days of like figuring out where to put this, Chaotic Wholesome was my first and only suggestion. I was like, I mean, I can look for other places if you want, but also what you want is Chaotic Wholesome.
Yeah.
But if you don't, for some reason, I will still be your friend. And I will help you find another place, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, there wasn't really another option after you were, hey, kind of wholesome is good. And I was like, you right though.
Q was like, yes. Like
Good choice.
it was a very simple conversation. It was,
Yep.
hey, so maybe not this. What about that? And Q's like, done. I was like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought I was gonna have
let me get in touch.
I prepared a slideshow. No,
Why?
I have links to no.
Wait, no.
All right.
It's like, I mean, if you want to show the presentation, I'm all ears. Right. But like
You came
like,
all this way.
right, I'm already sold.
If we're giving David flowers,
We
it's
are.
my turn.
Hell yeah.
So I had a show. I had an AP I ran on my Twitch channel. It was called Stormborn's Curse. And this was my baby. It was a campaign story I had worked on for years. And it was my very first thing in the space. Nobody knew who the fuck I was or what I was doing. I just decided to do it because I knew Critical Role was making money doing it, and I at least have fun doing it. So even though I will make $2, I'm going to have a good time with my friends. And after I think we ran for about a year and a half, we never got to finish our story because of circumstances. But after that time, I can say with full confidence and surety that I have never had such respect for what producers do because I had to produce the show while I was DMing.
Oh my goodness.
I was doing everything at the same time. So to see David here, not just pushing buttons, but you have such care for like us as people and the show. You're talking to us. You're not behind the curtain because you've been banisher, or you're not behind the curtain because you don't really want to fuck with us and you're just, you're just here to push the buttons and clock out. Like, it really did make a world of a difference in the vibe of the show because we feel like from the pre-production stage, not only does the GM want this story platformed and seen and experienced by all of us, not just the audience, but you have production who is like, hey, this shit rules. Also, I'm a really cool person and I would like to spend more time with you. Like the amount of time we would spend before the show just talking and after the show just talking and on break and having to cut ourselves off because we're having a good time and there's no thought behind it, there's no defense, there's no I should say something or they're gonna think I'm mean because I have a black face.
Real talk.
That makes a difference.
That look was everything. The double eye roll when you loop your eye roll, incredible, iconic, truly.
I had to, you
definitely
got to bring
agree
it back
with that,
around
though, Liz.
town.
Like you're that you're hitting the nail right on the head. Like
No, for real.
that feeling of kickoff, right? Like Q already has this beautiful and bright and infectious energy that he brings to every situation that he is in. So to have that underscored by the person who is quite literally steering the ship, right? You've got Q steering the story and guiding us and being right there with us and contributing, collaborating, setting us up for really beautiful moments. But like having someone who is literally steering the ship, like come in with such warmth and such excitement for the project. Obviously seeing Kay in chat and knowing that like there was so much respect from Kay, that not
Yeah.
wanting to change the vibe as a white person, right?
Mm,
Not wanting to
yeah.
come in and be like, "Hi, I'm here. It's my channel," right? I
Mm,
co-own this with David. We are channel keepers together, right? Like the
Mhm.
amount of like implicit trust from Kay was really beautiful, and then the amount of expressed trust and love and care and dedication that David brought to it was so warm and heartening. Like every morning I would wake up and I'm a night owl. I'm that person that's going to bed like 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, all right, well, I guess you can't stay up anymore. That's unreasonable. You
Right.
should go to bed.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
should at some point sleep.
When it
You
goes from
should.
being late to
Oh
early,
my
it's
goodness.
probably
Yeah.
bedtime.
Right.
When
Yeah.
when the morning birds start
That's
chirping out
me.
the window, it's like, oh, nah, bro,
Yes.
I did it again.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
like
yeah.
did it
I'm
again.
I'm crawling out of
I'm
bed
ready
on
for
Saturday
breakfast.
mornings, like right? And then I sit here and like all of you just like I needed
Mm,
no coffee. All of you just
yeah.
like filled my sails with all of this beautiful, warm, sweet wind, and I was able to just go into my day. And it like really changed my day too. Like the rest of my day was that much
Mm,
better because I got to spend it with all of you. And I think that like David is a big part of that feeling of being held, right? I felt
Yep.
very
yeah.
Mhm.
held during this production.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
felt like there were hands right here, and I was just like, this is great. I don't have to worry about
So
anything.
for one, thank you. That mm, but also,
Accept
um,
it.
it's hard. It's not easy. Um,
No, for
I,
sure.
I with all of the love and respect in the world, that's a skill issue.
yeah, I will
Um,
concede that.
yeah,
Um,
I accept it.
um, p- part of what K and I's dynamic, like part of what makes us have great shows, or it makes it easy for us to have great shows, is because we're co-DMs and K is running the game where everybody can see, and I'm running the parts of the game that people can't see, because like not only am I like answering questions from players, and so like if you watch somebody play an AP, you will see this moment of panic where someone goes, I have a question and I don't want to disrupt the scene, but I also need this answer in order. And so because I am in the group chat and I am behind the scenes, they could go clackety clackety clack, what does this spell do? Or
Mhm.
what is this mechanic like? And I can answer and explain it to them. And I can also say to them, hey, this is a good question to ask K above table so that the audience can learn about it as well. Um, and like, I'm kicking K stat blocks, and I'm finding bits of lore for them. And K is like up here, but like typing over here, but like, oh my God, I forgot what this thing is. Please go like look it up. Um, and then also like doing the techie stuff. But uh we try to bring that philosophy and also the care for the creative vision to other people's projects. So like and you can like you can, if you screenshot the entire conversation that Q, K, and I have had over the course of this production, it's always been, hey, Q, your artistic vision, that's what's going. We don't want to interfere with that, and whatever we can do to help, and like the only like restrictions you have are, we're like, hey, this is a safe space, so if you don't make your space safe, then it's not going to be a thing. That's not something we had to worry about. Um,
Yeah.
because obviously, like everybody worked together, led by Q, to make all of this safe and wholesome and comfortable for not just for each other but also for the great performances. So like, I'm like, hey, I can take a step back here, and Kay's favorite part of this whole thing is Kay got to be an audience member. Kay
Mhm.
got to just like curl up on the couch with a blanket and like watch. Um, and I know that was special for them, um, in their experience, because I've never run anything without Kay. And Kay always enjoys seeing Candace and Liz and meeting new people and getting to know. And Kay also likes high quality APs, and luckily we cooked that up for her.
Yeah.
But for anyone watching, like, one, you're going to have tech issues. There is no doing this without tech issues. It's gonna happen. You're gonna feel like an asshole. Just suck it up, keep going.
Mhm.
But also, like, yeah, with Chaotic Wholesome, it was like, if anybody is watching is like, well, how much did they tinker? How much did they interfere? Because that does happen in other spaces. Our stance is to, as outside of like making a safe space, to have zero interference. And y'all, Q burned the midnight oil. Like, Q has
Yeah.
seen more than one sunrise making this happen. And
You don't have to call me out like that. It's true, but yeah, I do.
but it's really like even ignoring life stuff that's happened to all of us and that Q was dealing with. It's really, whenever Kay and I see somebody work as hard as we do for others, we're always impressed. We're always very happy. And it shows. Like, everyone, and I've said this in the green room before, everybody talks about talent. Oh, so and so is so talented. Talent is a product of effort and learning and investment and practice. And so to see all of you so talented and deliver such great performance, all of the work that you put in to get here is more impressive than the already stellar, incredible performances that you gave us.
You know, I just want to say, and everybody said so much already about David, but I want to say that this is a performative art. And we all know that there's a lot of work to producing. We all know that there's a lot of tech issues and things like that. But David made it look easy.
Truth.
Made it look easy. We know it wasn't, but you made it look that way.
Mhm.
And so
Get your ass back on this screen, but
Q walked out and hit a rock with his pickaxe and struck black gold.
Seriously.
Putting this together. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for setting the scene and laying out this story and providing those things. I think, we don't hear the term used as back in the 80s. We used to use the term for GM a lot more like a referee. And I think, there's a lot of truth in that term because, I think Liz touched on a little bit that, the referee just kind of kicks the ball back into play and makes sure that the rules are there and everything like that. But they're not the quarterback. They're not the wide receiver or all of the people who are getting all the accolades. But the referee should get some accolades because kicking that ball back into play, setting the stage, making sure that all the rules that's all so super important. And thank you for putting this together and corralling it. Mark, just like Liz said, Oscar, I don't know what else can be said. There was just a power there, and just this quiet, understated way of playing death and playing it in a unique way that was so powerful and so different. Liz, all I can say is quiet strength because Liz will sit there and watch everything that's going on and then say something and then I forgot what the fuck I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what the?
That-
I don't even remember where the fuck I am because I
Liz
just
will
come out of
boom you.
yeah.
They fucking boomed me.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Killed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
That'll
lives
stay
with
with
me.
me until
For-
the end of time.
I forgot my damn name for a few minutes.
It's like,
Mhm, mhm.
what
And
am I
then-
doing here? Right.
Yeah, and then Candace over here is like one minute, like here we are in this thing, and we're switching eras, and Kansas is like challenge accepted,
Yeah. Oh
and
my
she's
goodness.
like fucking Princess Diana turning into Wonder Woman or something, or like some kind of magical fucking girl. Only it's not Candace changing from like some, ordinary person into a superhero. It's fucking her changing from Wonder Woman into fucking Sailor Moon or some shit like that. It's like this. There's like explosions and fucking spinning and shit going on, and boom, there she is. All of a sudden, I'm like, there Candace is. I'm like, where did they come from?
I think it
I'm
was
like, what?
it was the 60s and 70s that
Yes.
really hit.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
the
Switch.
60s, then the 70s.
Yes. It was like, boom. And I was like,
when I tell you, I was
what?
like, okay, I'm lacking. Clearly, my bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know what we
Hey.
was doing today.
I was
Yes.
working so hard. I was like, I own so little yellow, even though I love the color, but I'm gonna wear something yellow every episode. And my brain, like steam was coming out of my ears. And then I rocked up and I see Candace with the costume change.
Yo.
Yes.
Costume change. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I never
Right?
dress up for an AP. I never even thought about it. I just wear what I'm wearing. But this is like, oh, if we're all gonna be looking some kind of way.
We all had
I
to
need
come
Right.
dressed.
I need to do something.
For sure. No, we
I
had
gotta
to,
put a
we had to do
jacket
it.
Yes.
I was like, where's
Yeah.
my Sunday hat? I can't let Candace
For sure.
demolish
Right.
me.
We had to rise to your occasion.
We
And
really did.
honestly,
Yes.
that's a great
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate that. I'm gonna fully out myself here, show my ass here. When it comes to like dressing up for a game on camera, I don't know what it is with my brain, but my brain is like, that is such a waste. You can't do that. Why would you do that? You're not going anywhere. I guess because I'm not leaving the house, and
Yep.
it's just for
Correct.
me. I love seeing other people do it, but
Well,
when
how
it's
about this?
me rocking
Next
up,
time,
I'm like,
just step
blanket.
outside.
Exactly.
Just step outside.
No, honestly, that might work. Like if I go get my car and then I come back out and I come back in,
Yeah.
it breaks my brain. But I came in with this game and I was like, man, why don't I have anything yellow? Man, where's my stuff? Should I put on like mascara, lip gloss? Like I like
Where's
it just
wordrobe? Where's makeup? Why aren't y'all doing your job?
Right? And
Right.
Candace,
but it was
Candace
y'all
just
get
did
it
it
in.
all. Boom.
but I didn't feel like I had to in a
Mhm.
negative way. I didn't feel
Yes.
like it was expected of me and I had the pressure of under delivering. For the first time in a while, I wanted to bring
Yeah.
that to the table
Same.
because I felt like all of me was being received and appreciated at the table. So the extra effort I was putting in wouldn't feel wasted, so to speak, as it would at tables where I have been, where we're sitting and we're playing and players are rolling their eyes at me on camera because they want me to
Yeah.
stop talking so they can talk.
And every one of you made me like
Right.
be like, I'm not crying.
Yep.
Something in my eye.
Them
It's
onion
allergies,
ninjas were
okay?
out.
At
They were
one point or another,
Mhm.
everyone here. Thank you all.
Yeah.
And
We-
thank
we
you to
did the
Mark for
thing
having us
where-
on, even though
Yeah,
we're
thank you to
Yeah.
Mark.
We did the thing where 10 minutes ago I was like, hey, let's wrap up, y'all. And then we just kept going because black people just don't know when shit ends. It ends when it ends.
It ends when it
It starts
ends.
when it starts and it ends when it ends.
Right.
We've been talking about a lot about Kay. I'm gonna shout out to Kay. But the last segment of this podcast is called the TTRPG Green Book. For those of you who don't know what the Green Book is, the Green Book was a collection of places that black people could stop or go to that they would be safe and not be lynched or spit in the food. So right now I'm doing my own TTRPG Green Book. Kay's already in the Green Book. Good job, Kay. Who do we as a group want to add to the TTRPG Green Book? That's that's a white person or group that we say, okay, like that. These is a safe person. We can fuck with them. They're not gonna spit in our food or
Faye
like
Fatale.
that. Who?
Faye Fatale.
Oh,
yeah.
Faye Fatale. Okay, I
I'll
thought
give
you
it to
said
Faye.
Faith and Cow.
Yeah.
Faye
If
Fatale.
anything,
Okay.
if anything, Faye is the type of person that will err on the side of caution pretty much exclusively. Like
Yes.
if she feels like she is a person that will say whatever, have a conversation, and then 2 days later you will get a DM and she'll be like, hey, So I've been thinking about this for the past 48 hours. And it occurs to me that you might have thought I meant this. I'm like, no, not at all. Okay, well, I'm still going to apologize to you just so you
Yeah.
no,
Yes,
I'm fine.
yeah.
But yes, but really, but I really want you to know where we're at. I know where we're at. No, but I just want to, like,
Yeah,
that's,
yes, that's
that's
Faye.
So,
Totally
That's Faye.
Faye.
Yeah.
that tracks. That
I
tracks. We
just
love
need to
that.
be clear. Like, she's
Mhm.
Sure.
she's
Very
great.
much,
Um,
very
I agree.
much.
I've seen her come back and apologize for shit that nobody probably
Yes.
saw. Was
Yes.
okay.
Right, yeah.
She
Yeah.
she owns everything that she
Yeah.
says, which to
Absolutely.
me is step one in being an ally. I think a lot of times people think that allyship starts with how much you uplift or support or are seen uplifting and supporting, I should say, people
Yes.
of color in the space, right? We're marginalized individuals. But like to me, what I've really learned very recently, in fact, like in the last like 3 months, I've learned that allyship is actually that's like step two, right? Step
mhm.
one for allyship is owning your own shit, looking in the
Yes.
mirror and understanding that you benefit from a world because you are white and get all this awesome shit and all these gifts and the special treatment because of who you are and how you look, right? That is step one in being an ally. There are a lot of people who do steps 2, 3, and 4, right? Oh, well, I invited Candace and Liz to come and GM on my channel. So that's a step because I have a large platform and I'm offering it to them. But unless you understand that you are a product of systemic racism, right? I
Yes.
can't bring my story to you because you think
Right.
that you think I'm not talking to you. I had someone look me in my fucking face and say, "Well, you make me feel like I'm part of the problem." And I'm like, "Well, are you anti-racist? Are you
Ooh.
actively educating yourself about Black history?
Ooh.
Are you actively educating yourself about Black people and the Black experience? When I ask you to educate yourself, are you doing it? If the answer to that is no, which it was, then you are part of the problem, quite frankly.
Yep.
Right? No
Mm-hmm.
offense, but you
If the
are.
shoe fit, ho.
Put it
Yeah.
on the foot, right? So I
And
think that a lot of people think that allyship is like, oh well, I'm one of the good ones or whatever the fuck
Mm,
that's supposed to mean, right?
That
Right.
No,
term is never good. Don't ever use it.
no.
ever, right? And like
It's bad
No.
every
you
time.
you
Yeah.
have to accept the world for what it is and your place in that society before you can come to me and tell me you know how it is,
Mm,
because that's how microaggressions happen, right? You think that you know
Yeah.
everything. You
I
don't recognize your own privilege and your own racism, right? That's
mm.
been kind of subconsciously put into your mind. And then you take it out on me. And now we have a problem. And you're like, what? What do
I
you mean I hurt your feelings?
You're
Like,
doing
I
an impression
I
of someone very specific right there,
yeah.
Candace.
I put a
so
very
many
lengthy
people, honestly.
I
Mm.
put a very lengthy post up on Twitter the other day about recent
Yes,
events
it was beautiful.
about using the term good ones and the problems with using and the problems with making a list of people, particularly black people or other marginalized people who are good ones.
Yes. But all that said, Faye does that step one like a champion. She
Yes.
is A
Faye
plus at
Yes.
that.
Town, you are in the none-shot TTRPG Green Book. It is
Awesome.
written in pencil. It will fade over time, so don't get too comfortable. But welcome.
There you go.
You are in that safe space, and we thank you for that.
There you go.
Y'all, this has been
I
a wonderful, wonderful podcast.
Yes.
Thank y'all so much for taking part. This is what I think is why this podcast is here, because I want people to be able to speak their truths and tell their stories in ways that, y'all don't have to hold back. Um, y'all don't have to censor yourselves. 'Cause I've seen Candace do podcasts. I'm like, Candace, man. Not that you're lying, but like Candace is not
Candace
telling
is
the full
being
truth here.
business Candace.
Being business,
Mhm.
Candace.
customer
But
service, Candace.
I want
That
everyone
part.
to just feel comfortable and speak their truth and say what's on their mind on this podcast. This has been nOne-shOt with Mark J. Brought to you by Apochromatic Unlimited. We're in all POC TTRPG space, and we are here to uplift voices of people of color, such as these beautiful people right here, and hopefully you too in the audience if you're watching now. Definitely go check out Chaotic Wholesome. Check out Body and Soul. We put so much work and effort and bring tissues because you may end up crying. Um, Everyone, please go around. I'm gonna go down the list again for outros. Plug everything and anything you want to plug. This is your time. Go in by all means. Let's start with Q, please.
All right. What's up? Again, Midnight Inc., Midnight_INQ. You can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet under that these days. I've got a couple of things going on. I've got a game on Tuesday at Entropy Emporium called They Call Us Villains. That is a horror masks game. Love that one a lot. Starting the 9th of April, so coming up real soon. I'm going to be on Live from the Apocalypse, playing in Nephilim, which is going to be it's a game in space. Uh, and then Thursday, I have Redacted also on Live from the Apocalypse. It is a very fun sorry, powered by the Apocalypse game. Um, it's we have a bunch of ghosts in us. We are all houses full of ghosts. And then actually coming up this Sunday, like so tomorrow, I'm going to be on RPGs Uncovered, playing Starcrier, which is going to be a Lancer game. I'm playing Mr. Desperado. So yeah, come watch. I have things and I've got other things in the works. So just keep a lookout.
He was a busy, busy man.
Damn,
Candace,
I'm so
please.
tired.
By the way, it's good to be busy in space. That's the worst feeling when
Correct.
no one's in your inbox or calling you. That's the like what did I do? Sorry,
Yeah.
Candace, please.
I am Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. You can find me at the Candace Marie on Twitter and Blue Sky, at Candace the Magnificent everywhere else. I'm gonna try and get back into streaming on my Twitch channel. We'll see how that goes. Right now, I am actually, by the time this goes live, it will have already been done. But if you go to Pixelated Players or Pixelated Playhouse on YouTube, you can see me as Tybalt, Prince of Cats, in a video game themed production of Romeo and Juliet. You can also hear my voice in a variety of places. I do audio dramas and things as a voice actor. You can catch me every other Saturday on Matihi's channel playing the original 5e horror pirate campaign that's very gay, called What We Do in the Shallows. And then you can hear me on both Bloom and Blight by Darylful Archives and Otherworld Hollywood by 12 Sided Stories, anywhere you catch your pods. And if you follow me on social, you'll see a bunch of stuff that I have coming up. I'm working on this really awesome kind of meta story with some folks from the Atomless Art Plebe and the Kappa Christian as well. And that'll probably be announced in the next month or so.
Busy, busy, busy. Liz, please.
Oh God, this is hard for me. Okay. I am Dauntless. You can call me Daunt or Liss. You can find me on Twitter at Daunt_Liss. That's DAUNT_LYS. And on Twitch at DAUNTLYS, one word, because I couldn't get my Twitter handle. I am a variety streamer on Team Neat Dude, as well as the stream team Where the Heart Is, which is a charity focused stream team that we're still launching, but I'm very excited to be a part of. I play random games, we hang out, we talk about unpacking some of the harmful tropes in TTRPGs, especially in D&D. Do a bunch of different stuff. If you like my work in Body and Soul, I am available as a GM for hire. You can do that through my Ko-Fi page, which is ko-fi.com/dauntless. Nailed it. You can do
Yeah.
that through my commissions page there, see all of my rates. Do I have anything else? Everything else I'm doing, I'm not sure where it's going to be airing. So I can't really plug it, but that is the big thing. If you like my work in Body and Soul, please do consider booking a commission with me. My biggest touchstone, my biggest priority is safety and enjoyment. I want to bring the respect and enjoyment that I want to see at my tables, that I feel here with these lovely people. I want to bring that to you. And as part of my services, you get a custom game. So your game will be one of a kind. It's not just paying me to run a module unless that's something you really want. So yeah, that's my stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely hire Liz.
Thank
Hire
you.
everybody you can see on the screen right now. Pay us money for something.
Pay us money.
Pay
Next,
me money for nothing. Just give me money.
right?
Yes.
Easy.
I mean, if you want
We've
me to
already
like
done the
do
work.
things, I could do that too. But also first, just send me the money,
We negotiate that
please and thank
after.
you.
Yes.
Stefan,
Or
please.
Chinese food or sushi, also acceptable.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I'm
Your
yeah,
trash.
I'm Stefan, also Umbro_Knight X on Twitter, or Umbro Knight X on Blue Sky. And I am working on a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. It's all on the QT right now until we're ready to reveal. But we got some stuff that I'm working with some other people on coming up. Um, Hopefully we will be to a point where we'll be ready to announce here in a couple of months if all goes well. So a lot of behind the scenes projects. So hopefully just keep your eyes peeled, and I'll be announcing a lot more stuff later. And we'll see where all that goes.
Big projects that can't even talk about. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Work in silence.
Yeah.
But move strong. David, please.
Hi, I'm David. I am one half of Chaotic Wholesome Presents. Please follow us on Twitch and YouTube at Chaotic Wholesome Presents. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at CW_presents, because we have a number of things coming up over the summer, towards the second half of the year. We're talking to Candace about a couple of things, and there are things I want to do. Kay and I are working on a thing, and then we're also working. Look, follow us on Twitter to stay updated about the things that we're getting up to as we get closer to announcing things. Please go check out our YouTube to catch old episodes of the talk show, to see sections of Kay and I play our home game TTRPG characters in Baldur's Gate 3, and see us share a brain cell and occasionally lose it. Um, and then also, come find us on Twitch, talk shows on Tuesday. We have gaming stuff that we do, and we are fortunate that there is a bunch more hosting that we are going to do in the future. So I am very happy to say that Body and Soul is the tip of the spear. And also stay tuned, because I have plans for everyone here, and they don't even know it yet. And when it is time, it will be at Chaotic Wholesome Presents. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, David and Kay, for hosting this show, hosting Body and Soul. Um, y'all, this has been a beautiful experience. To be honest, this cast, the production that we did, um, the way we moved through time as characters, one of the most beautiful things. So having this kind of talk back right here was really important for me, and I hope it's really important for you to watch it. But in any case, this has been nOne-shOt with Mark J. Y'all have a great day, and free Palestine.
Yes.
Bye.